Hey guys, Lux Capital here. I just wanted to talk about this a little bit as it's helped me, so I'm hoping that it will help you guys too. I just wanted to show I'm in replay mode all the way back to as far as I can so that I am just going to be doing this randomly. I'm not going to be going to pick out a trade that works. But normally I don't like indicators, right? I feel like they are distractions, not only in that it can clutter up your chart, but it also takes away from the learning and analytical side of reading the charts. And I'll show you what I mean by that. But this indicator has actually helped me. 6 a.m. Let's just bump. And I want to show you how that has helped me. So first, why does this look so blocky? First, I'm going to show you what it is. So you just go to your indicators and type in breaker, and it's the first one, breaker blocks with signals by LuxAlgo. He does a lot of indicators. Most of them are retail crap, but this one I have found to be helpful. I did change the settings, so when you get it, these color settings down here, one of them is at 15 and the other one's at like 5, so you can't see the whole breaker block. I just changed them all to be 15%. You can make them brighter if you want to, but I just made them all the same so that the breaker block, what it does is it like shows a breaker block, and then when price passes through it, it brightens the breaker block after that, which doesn't matter to me. So like this part will be hardly visible, and then since it passed through it, this will be brighter so that you can expect it to come back to the brighter part. Whatever your preference is, I like the whole thing to be one solid color. So what this does is it analyzes the chart and will mark out a rate of liquidity. It rated this, bounced off a new week opening gap, which is another indicator that I use. Again, I'm going to have those drawings on there anyways. This just does it for me and gives me the date of when it was, so I don't have to do it. You can set it to go back as far as you want to. Normally I do about 5 weeks, but ICT referenced a new week opening gap from 12 weeks ago. So it's another one of the things with ICT that I've noticed that kind of change as time goes on. They aren't exactly what he originally taught. One of those is breaker blocks, actually. He originally taught them not using wicks, and then did show some examples of drawing the breaker blocks using wicks. And actually, I think there's examples of both situations happening multiple times. So at this point, who knows? I use wicks on my breaker blocks. So anyways, what this does is highlights the rate of liquidity. It also highlights that swing point. When price comes back down and passes, it makes a market structure shift. That's a legitimate market structure shift, not just like a break of structure on that trend. So then it'll highlight that block as soon as it passes through it. Now, the one thing with this indicator is that it does these things off of only 1 tick minimum. So we like to see a wick for the raid, so that's fine. I like to see a little more than 1 tick, but it will generate this drawing off of 1 ticks, especially when it comes to the market structure shift. I want to see some intention there. I want to see some displacement, bust through that market level and shift with meaning and purpose. So I like to see a bigger candle, not a wick, but it will generate the breaker block drawing on just a wick. So the other thing it does is it'll highlight here, this red arrow, it'll highlight the candle that leaves the breaker block. I'll show you some more things it highlights too. It also throws you a couple of targets. I think it's only 2 close by swing points that would make good targets for liquidity. So it is a pretty decent indicator. If you turn on, it has alerts too. If you turn on alerts, it will literally only really alert you for everything. You can't I haven't figured out how to customize that. So it'll alert you when a breaker block is formed, when price leaves the breaker block, when price comes back to the breaker block, when it invalidates the breaker block and then reclaims it and then bounces back again. And it blows up your phone with alerts. And I really wish I could change it to just tell me when a breaker block forms. As you know, with the unicorn model and the model that we're kind of sticking with, or at least the one that I really only prefer to trade, that's only half of the equation. There are a bunch of indicators out there that'll draw fair value gaps for you. I think they get messy because they draw all of them. So we'd have fair value gaps all up in here, all over here. You can make them go away once they're filled, but price comes back to fair value gap levels even though they're filled many times. And we'll reclaim them or use them as an inverted, or what do they call it? I think it's inversion gap. So I don't like them. I don't like displaying fair value gaps all over my chart. That's a clutter situation. So I don't like them all over my chart when I only need to be concerned with certain ones. So the other part of this puzzle for breaker block situations with the unicorn model is a fair value gap. So you'll want to look for one that overlaps that breaker block, and that's not possible with this one. So while it might pan out and trade back to the breaker block and go, it's just a normal breaker block trade, and that's not what I'm looking for. That's awesome that it works out. Same with it hits this new week opening gap, trades away. That might work out too, but I'm not trading a new week opening gap model. So I'm looking for something very specific, and this helps me get a little more harder to define piece of it. So that's why I use it. So look into that. I'm going to play through price a little bit. We're all the way back at the beginning of May, and we're going to take a look at a couple of examples, just to see how well it works out. That's the other thing too, is it will change on you. So we already kind of, whether that was valid or not, doesn't matter. It wasn't a valid unicorn. But let's get to, let me skip through all of this and get to where the market actually opens, and then we can see something actually in action. You'll also see when it comes, an arrow when it comes back in to the breaker and leaves. You'll see if it crosses the middle line, you'll see an X. That doesn't mean anything. It's going to cross the middle line almost every time. So it doesn't mean anything to me, but anyway, you'll also see a red dot when it breaks your goals. I don't know why it's red. I feel like that should be green, but whatever. Okay, so we'll wait till 9:30. Well, here, there we go. Okay, so 9:30 happens right here, and this is showing us a setup. It rated a lower low. It made a low, then a lower low, traded up through that. It already made equal highs, which I really like for a target. That's a huge draw. So if it doesn't break those equal highs and comes back down to this breaker, I would take it. It's got an overlapping fair value gap here. Oops. Like that. So this is a unicorn model. And it's happening right at 9:30, so we can take this trade. Your brokers will be open, blah, blah, blah. Market's open, volume's coming in, people are trading. It's not this weird stuff. This will be good movement. The paper trading on TradingView or whatever this is, it doesn't really let me set limit orders, but that brings up a good point, is with the unicorn models, I don't use limit orders. I only enter market with unicorn model. The reason being is until I get better, so maybe this is just a for now preference, until I get better at identifying what the rate of liquidity is versus the market structure shift. This one looks pretty obvious to me. It's rating this last low again and then shifting up. So coming down and bouncing and continuing on up to this new week opening gap maybe seems more logical. Sometimes it's not that easy. Or the market has other ideas and it just busts right through your setup and then flips and turns into a bearish breaker unicorn setup. So what I wait for is for it to come down past my line of entry is where the two are going to overlap. My goal is up. I'm zoomed in pretty far, 5 handles. Stop loss goes, you want to look down this market structure shift leg and find the last fair value gap. Here's a volume imbalance. I count that. So you go to the, in this case, bottom of the first candle that created that last volume imbalance or fair value gap. I don't know why they draw the lower low on here or the higher high. I wouldn't set my stop loss to that every time. So I don't, other than just saying here is the low, here's the low. I don't really know. But I cover all the gaps in volume imbalance, all the imbalances. We'll just put it that way. And my entry is where it overlaps. Goal is up here somewhere, at least 5 handles. I can't do a limit order, so we're just going to play this through and see if it comes down or not. It broke through all of that. Chances are this, and hit the new week opening gap. Chances are this one is not going to pan out, and that's fine. I'm going to bring this back down to like normal zoom. Okay. See, it has to, it's wanting to get below this low right here in order to turn bearish on us. There we go. Nope. Stay down there. So it'll do this because it only needs a tick. And if it keeps going back up above it, then it's not valid anyway. And it'll go back to the previous one because that's still valid. When a new one forms, there's a good chance the old one's no longer good. It's not always right. And it doesn't always pick the correct breaker block. But my point I was going to make from the beginning of the video, with it just drawing this breaker block here, if I go like this and get rid of that, where's the breaker block? Can you just point it out? Probably not. Can you look at this and say, here's the setup? If I just clicked on this chart, would you find it? Maybe, with some practice. But the problem is the indicator takes away that practice. So I don't like it for that reason. I still highly recommend looking at what it's drawn, analyzing what it's showing, and say, figure out if that is actually valid or not. In my opinion, turn this back on. I don't like this. I don't know that I would really enter it. Reason being is what I really like to see, ideally, is the raid go against the trend. Right now, this is a clear trend down. It's slow, but it's a trend down. And the raid just goes down again. I mean, yeah, it picks up the last little bit of liquidity that's down there and then shifts up, which is great. And it's valid. I mean, it is a breaker block setup. It does have a fair value gap. It is a unicorn. I don't always feel right about the raid being part of the trend. And hopefully we'll see an example of the other way around, the raid being counter trend. And I can explain that more, but anyway, let's keep moving on, see what happens with this. I don't think it draws when I push play, so I'm going to click through each candle here. This is clearly a terrible day. And it's going to keep that one down there until a new one forms. Or that one becomes invalidated. So you don't have to worry about like Well, since price hasn't done anything with this, it's skipping all the other ones that could form until something happens with this one. No, it'll turn it right off and draw you a new one right here. Almost. Right here. So now we've got a bearish. Bearish breaker. I don't see any fair value gaps. So this is, well, there's one at the back. It would have to pretty much clear the entire breaker block in order to get a unicorn entry, but it's there. It also makes for smaller risk. So for SNGs, let's give it a try. So this candle is the first one that creates that fair value gap. So our stop goes at the top of it. Happens to be that higher high this time. So we've got, why is it picking that candle? Anybody know? That's the reason why I don't like indicators as much. It takes away the learning experience, but helpful nonetheless. Highly recommend backtesting with it so you can learn why it's drawing the breaker where it's drawing it. I got stuff going on the live market, apparently, which I'm in paper trading anyway, so I'm not worried about it. All right, so we've traded away from this breaker block. We have to come all the way back up to this in order for me to want to, let's move this to 5 handles, for me to want to take this as a unicorn model, and it dumps and takes all the goals away anyway. So today's a chop, or this day is just a chop day. Probably not going to see a good setup. See there across the middle line, you get an X. If it passes by the last swing point, you get some dots. It's going to give you notifications all over the place when it's live and does this. It'll say breaker block mitigated, stuff like that. So obviously that was no good. This is why I use market. Not that I would ever take this trade, because this is a lot of travel for a market structure shift in return. This is crap. You know, if it had gone to here and then come back and then shot out, that's better. But all of this junk and taking the goals, they're the targets that are already there. No. So I, wait and don't do limit orders simply because of how ugly they can get. Is there one coming up here soon? Another raid. I think something in here invalidated our shift. Oh, I went a little fast on that one. So now we got a tiny raid here, a market structure shift bullish after being kind of bearish. We already shot down. There is a fair value gap in here. I went to, actually, I forgot I can rewind. So it'll create it as soon as you shoot above here. Ta-da. And then you got your raid line down here by a couple of ticks. But that's all you really need for a raid. Just knock out those stop losses down there. So let's see. All right. So we know it comes back, and it comes back pretty quickly. Let's try this out. We need entry to be there. My paper trading order did something. I wonder if it worked out. We'll check that at the end of the video. Stop loss below the candle that creates the fair value gap. And in this case, I want 5 handles, minimum. So we're going to trade down. And now I want to see it trade up to my white line. Almost there. Almost there. Still not there. Now it does. I'm going to buy. I only get like the whole candle when I'm doing this. I probably would have bought on one of these other candles as it live moved into my line. But whatever. Oop. Really chops around and stops us up. This one didn't work out. Sad day. Ooh, there's a description of one piece of the indicator that is fun to know. So I don't like this one either because it already made a low and then a low and then a lower low. So this is like nothing. If we had rated that again maybe and shifted up, that would have been a better raid. This is probably not going to be a thing. But I wanted to show you, it'll trade through. And if it passes through the whole body of the breaker, it stops itself. But then if it trades back above it, you see an R because it was reclaimed. And then another arrow to show a candle is breaking above the breaker. I think this new week opening gap is going to be a hit my stop. So my pretend live trade didn't work out on another breaker setup, but that's okay. So this is probably going to go down and already would have stopped us out. And it's 4 p.m. So now I got to sit here and let this play until we get to the next day. I will probably just fast forward this until we get to 9 the next day. Then we'll probably just do one more day just to show how the indicator works. Okay, here we are, about 9 o'clock. This indicator seems to be thinking we have some kind of bearish breaker block scenario going on here. Looks gross and choppy, but it's also before 9:30. So this may not mean anything in a few minutes. We are on Tuesday, and let's see. According to some of my back testing, Tuesdays likes to see a 9:30 to 9:45 entry, so let's play this through. Yeah, obviously that didn't work out, right? We want to see an entry that happens between there. All right, so we've broken structure entirely. Whether this is the raid or the shift, hard to say. I don't really see a raid behind it. So I'm guessing this is the raid, and it's going to come break the high of the 9:30 candle, or just keep going down, because some days it just melts. So we'll see. We We didn't get entry in our window, which is fine. That happens. Tuesdays are kind of widespread, so 9:45 all the way up to 10:45. We have seen high probability winning setups. And we're just melting away. Melting away. Tuesday, May 2nd. I can't even keep up with it. We'll just do that. I'm guessing a bullish one is going to pop up soon to catch some retracement. Holy moly. Where was I on this day? Yeah, I mean, here we go. It's already getting close to the end of the morning session, so I don't know if I would do this or not. On Tuesdays, I have record. We tested well over 100 setups in some of our backtesting, and it's still growing. I've got setups that have had entries all the way up to between 11:30 and 11:45s, and that's where we are roughly. So I don't know. Let's see if this plays out, okay? So we do have, after all that down move, which would have been nice to catch, didn't fit my model, so to me, price is just moving around, and I don't care. It does break a couple of decent lows there. It broke the small one, which is like whatever, but it also broke this last bigger one. And then traded above, broke whatever other swing highs were in here, and broke above a decent one. I like that. Do we have a fair value gap down here? Is this going to be a unicorn? Volume imbalance is already filled. I don't see a fair value gap, so to me this is nothing. Sadly. I wouldn't have wanted to be stuck in that over lunch anyways. That's gross, but you would have. I mean, where do you put it? Mean threshold, maybe? You would have easily had 5, 10, 15 handles, you know? But it's not my model. This whole day is kind of not what I want to see. I'd have picked something else, maybe silver bullet or all right. We rated all of that and then came down and shifted structure here. So we get a bearish breaker. This time we've got some fair value gaps. One up here too. I don't enter on the most extreme, but I cover my stop loss for it. We also have this crap up here, this crap all the way up here. So this one is tough because you want to cover all the imbalances with your stop loss, but that's massive. An 11. Yeah, well, you can go here, I guess. 10 handle stop loss. I wouldn't take that in real life ever. And the closest or the furthest target that it gives you is only 8. So in my opinion, I mean, theoretically, what are you going to come all the way back down here? Maybe. I wouldn't take this in real life. Stop loss is too big. You could be risky and set it here, but you've got imbalances that it's going to want to come back up to at some point. Probably stop you out anyways. And that's a 5 pip stop or a 5 handle stop loss. So, I mean, we'll see how it plays out. I don't like it. I've been wrong before, but I've been right before. All right, so it comes back in, fills that fair value gap. Probably will fill this next one. Mostly does. It does come back to our buy line, so we probably would have bought, or sold, sorry, if this was going to be a thing. We'll see if it hits any of these points of liquidity here. wants to go back to those other fair value gaps. And decides to continue moving on. So when it's like that, I already knew that it was not a great setup, but at least it points you in the idea of like, hey, watch this, look at this, what is this? Does this look good? Here's your breaker. Does the rest of your model fit? It doesn't say, here's a trade, enter. Because it doesn't work out a lot, because the rest of the model doesn't fit. Either there's not a fair value gap, or there's some weird there's another swing high up here and it leaves a bunch of shit up here. So don't just always take it. But it tells you when something, the first part of it, when a piece of it, sometimes the harder to identify piece shows up. So we'll just get rid of that. End of the day. So I just wanted to kind of run through that and show that. I use it. I've been using it for about a week. And what's Tuesday today? So Wednesday today? I don't even know anymore. Hold on. I think it's Wednesday. Week and a half. And it's taken me probably about a week to understand and feel like I get what it's doing and how to interpret it and read it. Let's go back to the live market quick. So give it time. So I had this marked out. As it was coming down, there was a bear. Let's show it. It didn't work out, but that's okay. It was after that because it nixed that real quick. So it had a bearish breaker, right? My raid is counter trend. We're coming down and we raid up. And then we market shift below that to continue trend. And I was like, cool, let's see what happens paper trading. I did set some paper trading limit orders because I moved onto the chart to tell you guys about the rest of the stuff. So that's what I marked out. It's 7.5 target and put the stop to the high. It's 2.25 point stop. I would have probably not done that. Well, it made an equal low. Let's see if it breaks it first. Oh, it switched on us. That's why. Okay. It does have an equal low down here, so going bullish would make me nervous. But I've seen other things crazier. I've seen crazier things happen. This bullish breaker's great and all. It doesn't have a fair value gap that overlaps with it, so I would not have entered. I would have just canceled my limit order before it entered. If you have a limit order, I don't like to use them. They blow through very often with these because you get the raid/shift mixed up. So until you get better at it, that's my recommendation. You might get a shit entry, but at least you got an entry. If it works out, you'll get 3 handles instead of 5. Guess what? That's okay. You won. You made money. Now do you see what I mean about alerts go all over the place? So this, oh, we're live now. And we switched to bullish. So not super great in super choppy markets, especially when we're under kind of a really scalpy condition. It'll flip-flop a lot as it creates the next one and the next one and the next one. So it works really, really good on large movement days. I mean, today, I can show you. Today it worked out really well this morning. I took one and it ended up being the start of the entire daily range, but it got really choppy and consolidating. And I don't like hanging around very much. I'm still getting better at that, but it ended up being huge. So I'm going to go back and show you guys that one for today. We'll just start at 9 because I don't remember when it started, actually. Let me go look real quick. So I posted about it around 10. It was not this one. So we'll play this through until the next one. Actually, I think I was on a 2-minute chart when I did that. And I had already posted about it. Sorry, guys. Let's see. Was it over here? Here? Was I on a 3-minute chart? Pause. I'll come back when I find it. Okay, this is the one I took this morning. So right away this morning, 9:30, it went doo and melted down. Took out all this sell-side liquidity from overnight, which is great. About to go bullish, right? Yesterday I had a bias preference to be bullish today. So here we are. This one comes around after nothing really showed up here as it melted down, and then here we are. Here's a breaker. I'm like, cool, a breaker. What are we gonna look for now? First, I like the raid. Good deal. I like the market structure shift. It's very intentional. It's got some displacement. It wants to go this way, and it went above this new week opening gap. It's really, really, really small, and ICT has said that new week opening gap this small is inconsequential and to disregard it. But nonetheless, it went above it, so I feel comfortable about it. And what we are going to see is the next candle. Oh yeah, it took away the fair value gap. So this was not a unicorn model, and I still took it. Naughty. I don't remember where I put my stop loss. I want to say it was here. And I took 4. I was shooting for here. Here. I was shooting for 4140. Which is 9 3/4. It got into here and started doing some weird shit and then started coming down a little. So I took off at about 4.5 handles profit, which is great. 2 contracts, that's I can live with that. But it did end up coming up and hitting my target, and I think it hit all these targets. It's the start of the daily range, so it came all the way down and then went for the rest of the day. So we're gonna show you that. I took that entry and off it went. So right in here, it started getting sideways, and I saw that happen. So I closed it, which is fine, because if you watch what happens next, most people aren't comfortable with what it does. Like, that's nice, and then whoosh, that's scary, and creates one of these. It came right back down to my entry. I think my entry was closer to this new week opening gap, because this tapped my entry. I don't remember what I entered on, but looking at the screenshot I took, my entry was not at the middle of that. It was like right around here, right around the bottom. Yeah, right around the bottom of the new week opening gap. So it tapped my entry again, and I had been ballsy, I'd have entered again. But watch what happens from here. Goes through lunch, no big deal. See ya, suckers. Holy smokes, right? And that's the daily high. So these are lessons to learn, to be learned. Hold. Take partials. It's hard to do on indices because contracts are so expensive, but we're talking, which I will say, we're talking 46-ish, 47 handles on the tick. The unicorn model has produced insane trades. Insane. Over 100 trades. Over 100 trades. Our average profit handle is 23 handles. Our average profit is 23 handles. The maximum we ever found was 70. And the minimum is 5. So you'll get your 5 on every single one that works out. And this indicator does help. You just got to remember, it doesn't mean that there's a trade. It means you need to look for the rest of the stuff. So this video went way longer than I thought. Hopefully it all made sense. Try it. It's only for TradingView, sadly. So those of you that are not can't use it on your platforms, but you can chart in TradingView. TradingView has a mobile app, so you can watch TradingView for your charting, this is what I used to do because I used to trade crypto, and TradingView doesn't integrate with anything that did trade crypto when I was trading crypto. I think it does now on some brokers, but I would watch TradingView and then have my crypto account open in another app or another window, and I would chart on TradingView and then just hit buy or sell, set my stop loss and profit and stuff on the broker's thing, and use TradingView for my charts because it looks pretty. It's got way more functionality. I can read it way better. And it's the prime charting software. Let's be honest. So that's what I did. That's what you can do. I recommend giving it a shot and see what you guys think. But this is what I use. So, anything that I see from now on will be using this, referencing this. If I go searching for breaker blocks and things like that for you guys, it'll be using this. Plus analyzing to confirm that it's picking the right candle. It's picking stuff that actually makes sense. Because like I said, it doesn't always get it right. It doesn't always pick the right candle. It'll just pick it because there's a 1 tick worth of a movement. If we get a market structure shift first for just 1 tick and it makes a breaker, I'm not even going to consider it. It doesn't work that way for what we're looking for. I don't like it. So anyways, that's what I got. Thanks for hanging out, and have a good day. Catch you next time.